Hello, everyone. Welcome back. I am Christine Dixon of The Ordinary Sacred, and I'm so happy you're here with me in our van. We are in Colorado. It's beautiful. The weather is beautiful. We are staying at a winery in the parking lot. I haven't showered in a couple days, but we are living our best life. The Wi-Fi there is not great, so we're parked outside of a little coffee shop in town, and the Wi-Fi is great here. So, today I'm so excited to tell you more about the Sensitively Self-Led support group that is going to start the first Friday of October. And my hope for this video is just to explain to you why I've created it and kind of what to expect if you're considering joining the group, because I know that many of us who are neurosensitive, our systems really benefit from knowing what to expect. I'll go through exactly what to expect and how I run the groups and everything. Before we get to that, I want to do some shout outs to people who have given gifts in the last couple videos. So if you want to give a gift, you can go to the bottom. It's usually on the bottom right. You'll either see a heart with a dollar sign that says thanks, or just there'll be three dots, ellipses, and you can click on that and you should see the thanks button. That you can give any amount, and I will shout out your comment or answer your question, and all the money is going to the expenses that I have to run my website so that I can continue to give all the courses and everything there as free gifts. So, and there's no pressure to give me a gift whatsoever, only if it's genuinely coming from overflow, and you are also welcome to go to my website and get all the free things there. Okay, so I'm so excited to do shout outs. There is four of them. So first is someone that goes by So Many Colors Light, LB, and they say, beautiful video. Thank you. Thank you, So Many Colors Light. I so appreciate your gift. I'm trying to put my hand on my heart. I couldn't get over the chords there. That was funny. Okay, and then I want to also shout out, that was on two videos ago, and so I want to shout out the comments from the last video. And so I'm going to come over here real quick. Let's see if I can find it. All right. So the most recent one is a gift from Mariana D. Thank you so much, Mariana. When I read your comment, I teared up. So this is what Mariana says. She says, "It is my 60th birthday," or maybe Mariana. I don't know if I'm saying your name wrong. "It is my 60th birthday tomorrow, and my mom sent me $20. Yes, cash in the mail with a card. I love it. I still get those too. Um, I'd love to pass it on to you for gifting all of us such incredibly important life tools. You have helped me more than you can imagine." And I'm feeling emotional even now. Just the fact that you took the gift that was given to you and you passed it on to me means so much to me. And happy birthday. It's wonderful that you still have your mother, and I hope that you had a wonderful birthday, Mariana. And I believe you signed up for the group, so I'm excited about that as well. Okay. The next one is from Mendo Maiko. I think I'm saying that right. And they say, thanks. I like these pointers. I have been learning about coherence therapy, which also emphasizes disconfirming experiences, reconsolidation, etc. And I like presence as well, as it de-emphasizes a personal self. Thanks again, David. Thanks, David. Yes, this is a response to the last video where I was saying the five modifications that Steve March makes to internal family systems that I really love. And David is referring to some of those. And yeah, coherence therapy, that's what I love, is that all of these different people are basically observing the same truth, and they're coming at it from different angles and highlighting different aspects and maybe using different names, that it's all pointing us toward this experience of being healed by the presence of self that disconfirms all the experiences that we had where our relationship was broken and gives us that loving gaze and heals in that window of consolidation as this wonderfully loving presence. So thank you, David. Okay, and there's one more, I believe. Yes. Um, Someone who goes by God's Hounds, which I love. And they say thanks, and then later responded to my response and said, "Thank you for your work, for the work you're doing. I have been enjoying your YouTube videos for a few months. I have struggled to find free, in-depth IFS resources, so seeing so much free content on your site was a delight. Good luck in meeting your 4K goal." Thank you, God's hands. Your appreciation means so much to me. And it's been kind of a creative process in my own system to figure out, okay, how can I pay for the overhead of this, but still make it available to anyone and everyone um, who wants to heal, right? Because it's just such a powerfully transformative experience. So your appreciation means so much. And they're referring to the 4,000 as the goal. And I believe that we have about 100, around 150 now. So um, we're working our way up to make all that available. Okay, now I am back. And okay, so if you have seen, I've talked recently a lot about neurosensitivity, and really neurosensitivity is kind of another word for neurodivergence, honestly. But I like the word neurosensitivity better because it is a difference. It diverges, I guess, from the norm, because about 15 to 20% of us are neurosensitive. But I like neurosensitive because it really describes what the underlying quality is, and it's a sensitivity based in our neurological system, in our body and our brain, right? And the way that our body and brain process information, whether it's mental, it's emotional, relational, environmental, sensory, we process things at a much deeper, more intricate level. And that can be a bad thing for us, legitimately, when it's not seen as a valuable thing or our capacities are not respected in the culture, in our relationships, in our environments. It can be a very, very difficult thing to live with, but it's also our superpower. It is our strength. We are the population that can warn other people of danger, that can essentially have such high connection, often spiritually, relationally, and physically and mentally, so that we have a really highly tuned guidance system. It's as if our bodies will not allow us to go anywhere really other than our authentic. We'll shut down if we're not authentic and we don't honor what is meant for us. And so we end up often pursuing what is life-giving, um, or else really, or our bodies collapse and our minds collapse. So okay. So the reason why I wanted to form this group is because this is always what I'm creating, is whatever I need in this moment. Put my glasses up. There's a little glare there. Um, I'm always creating what I want and need for my own system. I was telling some people recently that the way that I was able to sustain making Instagram posts every day for 7, 8 years was I was always making what was life-giving to me. And so even if nobody else benefited from it or responded well to it, it was worth it because it was helping me in some way. Um, and that's how it's sustainable to me. It's either something I'm fascinated about or something I need. And so this group really is something that my system is super excited about because even though I'm holding the space and I'm sharing my experiences and providing the platform and kind of holding the container, I am still one of you, and my system is craving a group of people who understand this somewhat unique experience. There is still a lot of us, right? And on the internet, we can find each other, which is wonderful. But 15 to 20% of the population and various levels, right, of sensitivity. But being able to say, oh, me too, right? You're not alone, and people describe their experience. I've experienced that recently on YouTube, especially as I watch people with a diagnosis of autism level 1. But that's been happening with people who identify as HSP, highly sensitive person, um, people who've gone through religious trauma, whether it's just people who are expressing their own sensitivities around different things and how they have supported themselves and, oh my goodness, given themselves permission to show up in the world authentically as themselves, right? It's so inspiring to my system. And so, even though and I've made videos about but was absolutely highly sensitive as a child, um, had a visceral, painful reaction to loud noises like balloons popping and sirens and textures of food and bright lights and things like that. Very highly sensitive emotionally. All those things were present when I was, ever since I can remember, but it wasn't acknowledged that a highly sensitive person was even possible, right? So I was just told that I was too sensitive, a crybaby. Why are you crying? Why are you upset about that? Um, why can't you just be normal? And so it honestly wasn't until I was 42 and I was having all of these it's crazy, actually. I was hospitalized repeatedly, essentially given all these medications, bedridden for about a year. Nobody could figure out what was wrong with me. And what I believe was wrong with me was that I'm a highly sensitive person going through perimenopause. And so everything is really, really heightened. The anxiety is really heightened. I might make another video all about that experience. But um, but I'm going in and then they're giving me all these medications and my system is highly sensitive to the medications, which creates all these other side effects. And it was just this recipe for not functioning, right? For meltdowns and shutdowns and all kinds of things. And at that time, all growing up, I didn't understand that I was a highly sensitive person. What I understood from a very young age was I'm just bad. I'm just a bad person. I'm a weak person. I'm a pathetic person. I'm bad. I'm um, a burden. I'm too much. Those were the burdens that my young parts took on and held honestly until I was 42. And everything collapsed because I could, as hard as my parts tried to make me a different person and to make me be able to withstand all of these things, especially in perimenopause. I absolutely could not. I couldn't, all the people-pleasing parts, the masking, performing parts, taskmaster parts, all the inner critics that tried to beat down my sensitivity physically and emotionally could not do it anymore. And that was a huge blessing in disguise, even though it was a terribly huge nightmare that year. But it was like I had to begin to face who I actually am and that I'm not like other people, essentially. And so the first indication of this was one of the times when I went into a doctor's appointment and a nurse practitioner saw me. I think I was taking two different kinds of antibiotic and then an antifungal because the antibiotic caused yeast and and then probably several other medications. And the nurse practitioner just in passing said, "Oh, I think that you are probably just a highly sensitive person." And I thought she was uh insulting me, you know, but she didn't say it in an insulting way. So I went home and I looked up highly sensitive person, and that was the first time that I saw that that was a thing. I found Elaine Aron's book, I read it, I identified with 100% of being a highly sensitive person. And so I began, this was even before I knew internal family systems. So then I began in my healing journey with internal family systems, but um well, I mean that created so much help for me. As many of you know, I got to know many of my inner critics to the point where I was relating to them and asking them what they were upset about, trying to help those parts. My people pleaser Cassandra was began to be tempered by Sebastian, who was my part who had anger and self-value and looked out for my needs. Um, I witnessed so many experiences, hundreds, if not thousands of experiences where I said yes when my truth was no, and went back and reparented Cassandra, and then realized she has this whole team, parts who are hyper vigilant to know what the right thing is for the person in front of me and to make sure that I am pleasing them so that I don't get shamed or rejected. Had many experiences of being shamed and rejected, ended up, being in an abusive relationship where my first husband's parts believed I was bad and terrible and basically agreed with my own inner critics, right? Who just believed that I was weak and pathetic and too sensitive and too emotional and all of that, and basically deserved to die, right? But as I was healing through IFS, those parts began to be less burdened and more relaxed. And my young parts began to have connection with myself. And as I listened to them, they told me, the young parts told me that this sensitivity is just who we are, right? And you can't you can't suppress it. You can't shame it out of us. You can't, talking to the other parts, it's just always going to be here. So there began to be a certain level of acceptance. Certainly myself, my capital S self, accepted that. But my inner critics still really, really struggle to accept it. They continue to try really hard. They thought those parts needed to be unburdened and then they would be better, right? Or they thought if we just tell them how terrible they are one more time, maybe they'll, shape up and not be so sensitive and such a burden. And it wasn't until about a year ago when I started seeing videos on YouTube of people who were diagnosed as autism level 1. And I just resonated with every experience. And there was a part that said, no, 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 that's not you. Because I had mainly seen people with level 2 and level 3 and didn't identify with that. But as they described their experiences, I said, whoa, this is me over and over. Yes, 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 yes. That happened to me. That happened to me. That's my experience all the time. Just little things from I hate phone calls, answering phone calls. I hate um like administrative work or like filling in. There was one recently where they were showing, you know, you're filling in a like an application type thing and it says, fill it in very carefully. You only have one of these. And it says name and they write their first and last name and then it says last name and they're like, oh. I had that experience so many times. I remember when I would apply for jobs, I would have to ask for, 4 or 5 applications because I would be writing it in and it would say only use black ink and I was using blue. And I was like, ah, you know, but just um, those are some aspects of ADHD and executive function, and they're we are all so unique in the different combination of things. But what underlies autism, ADHD, aspects of OCD. So OCD to me, OCD, um, anxiety, depression, autoimmune disease, chronic pain, all of these are actually the the consequence, the result of living with neurosensitive bodies, autistic or ADHD bodies and nervous systems in a culture that doesn't accept that and doesn't support it, then these things happen, right? These parts develop around that experience. So there's this huge combination of this. This is our system. This is how we are, and it doesn't need to change. It can't be changed. And these are the parts that develop around it and are burdened, essentially. So there's a lot of nuance. There's a lot of beautiful gaining of understanding as we go in with our parts and we get to know them. But it wasn't until, let me come back to, it wasn't until I started really resonating with this experience of autism level 1 that my critics, it was like they finally dropped their swords and their weapons and sat down in defeat because they realized completely that they could not change the parts that they had been trying to change for 42 years. Um, and they began to be able to relax. They felt defeated, they felt discouraged at first, but then eventually felt relieved by it because they they could rest now, right? And that myself could take over. And so what came in such a huge way from that was self-acceptance, which, like I was saying, my capital S self already accepted all of my parts. Self-acceptance for me was really about those huge inner critics who were constantly berating the sensitive parts of me, accepting. And it was like they went through a grief process of what do you mean? We've been doing this for you your whole life. We've been helping you mask and constantly please the person in front of you and constantly berate you um and it was for nothing. We couldn't do it. I mean, we knew we couldn't do it. It was, but we just thought it was their fault. So there was a grief process for them, and then an acceptance, which was resting. And so my hope for this group, sorry, that was a little bit long there, but my hope for this group is that if you are a neurosensitive person, that your experience will be validated, that you will feel like you're not alone, that everything you experience makes sense, and that perhaps you will gain some self-acceptance, some self-compassion from yourself, some self-awareness around all the parts and appreciation for them and how they tried to help you mask and keep you alive socially, essentially. Um, and then and so the group, I'll go into kind of how the group will look. So it will be the first Friday of every month, starting next month in October 2025, going through March 2026. And it'll be the first Friday of each month, 1 to 2:30 Central Time, which is, I believe, 11 to 12:30 Pacific and 2 to 3:30 Eastern, 7 to 8:30 p.m. in England or GMT. And you can adjust it to your time zone. If you do go to the Calendly link to sign up, Calendly should adjust it to your time zone as well. And so we'll meet for about 90 minutes. And the first group will be about what is it like being a neurosensitive person? Just really sharing our experience around that. And the second group will be exploring our parts and the parts that have developed to protect us, to try to suppress those qualities to help, keep us alive socially and really just exploring our inner families. And then the rest of them, the last four are going to be all about what does it look like to be self-led, to have self-leadership after all our parts have really been listened to and witnessed, what does it look like for us to be self-led in the areas of our body, emotions, our environment, and our relationships? Those are the four main areas for me where I have had to experiment with saying no to certain things and saying yes to other things, saying no to the things that are just not meant for me, even though other people can do them. Saying yes to the things that are specifically life-giving to me. So what those specific things are may be different, or they will be different for you than for me and the next person. But just giving ourselves permission to at first experiment with what that looks like and kind of evaluate honestly if the people around us in our environments, maybe the systems we're in, are safe for our system or not, because we can't really try that out if they're not. So we'll explore some of that as well. And so, as far as what an actual session will look like, many of you have signed up already. Many of you have been in my groups before, so you know what it looks like. Some of you are new, and my system's just so excited to be together with other neurosensitive people. But so what my groups, what the way I usually lead them is anything and everything that I suggest or ask you to do, you never have to do. You are always your own authority. And that's going to be a really big one, is learning to really assess what your body, nervous system, and inner family is okay doing or not doing. So you do not ever have to turn on your camera or speak. That's always your choice. There's no shame whatsoever in it. If we do great breakout groups, which my parts hate breakout groups, but some people like them. If we do them, I'm not sure yet, it will always be optional. You can stay in the bigger group if you don't want to go in. Um, you if I lead a meditation or an exercise, you can just you observe. You do not have to do it with me. You don't have to even write in the comments. You don't have to make yourself known at all. You can show up late, you can leave early. You are absolutely free to do whatever your system is comfortable doing. And so usually I will start with just a checking in with our parts, a brief observation of what I call our pets, which is our physical sensations in our body, emotional energy, and thoughts. This is often evidence of our parts or our sensitive nervous system giving us really valuable information. So we'll just kind of welcome what's alive in us. I'll say the intention for the group, and then I will usually do a little bit of teaching, or I might lead us in an exercise. And then after that, it'll be optional to share. And all throughout, you can share in the comments. There's a lot of community that happens in the comments because um, I believe I already have 20 people signed up. So it could potentially be quite a few people in the group. And so it's not necessarily going to be like this very small group where everybody has to get to know each other and interact. It's really up to you how much of yourself you expose, because you don't need to override parts that might give you backlash later about exposing. You might just feel comfortable, you check in with your system and maybe you feel comfortable sharing something in the chat. And it will be recorded, but it will only be shared with the people who are signed up for the group. And there will not be new people each week. It will be the same group of people for the 6 months. But if your system does not want to be recorded, that's okay. You don't have to turn on your camera, and the chat will not be shared. So you can maybe feel comfortable sharing in the chat. Again, whatever you're comfortable with. Um, and then there'll be a time just for those who may want to share about their experience, either just audibly or visually. And we will have a closing time, but usually some kind of closing ritual just so that we know that our time is finished. And likely we'll see how we interact. Maybe we'll interact in my private Facebook group, or I'll create a special group so that people can connect between sessions if they want to. And again, you don't have to do that either. There's never anything you have to do. But my vision is just that we will not feel alone, that we will understand the strengths of our sensitivity, and we will also know how to feel empowered to curate our lives, our environments, our relationships, what we give and do with our bodies and how we treat our emotions in such a way that we can thrive in the world and that we can give from overflow and we can say no to what we is authentic, an authentic no, say yes to what's an authentic yes, move in the world in an authentic way and find our tribe that accepts us for who we are and even celebrates us for who we are. So that's my vision for the group. If you want to sign up for it, I'll put the link in the description below. I'll also have the link in the first link in my link tree and my on my Instagram page, and I'll create something on my website as well if you want to go to my website. But enrollment for this 6-month group will end on October 1st. So if you want to get into this 6-month group, go make sure that you sign up before October 1st. And let's see, anything else? Oh, the cost of it is essentially $5 a session. So it'll be $30 for the 6 months. I tried to make a little bit of a paywall because I have found that it makes a difference in people wanting to show up. If for some reason you feel like you absolutely cannot afford the $30 a month or for the 6 months, just reach out to me and we can find some different kind of exchange of value. Um, it could even be paying it forward to someone else, right? But if you are really, really interested in being in the group, just let me know. All right. I think that's all of the information. It will be on Zoom. Um, I think that's it. If you have any other questions about the group, feel free to put them in the comments below. I know that this video is not evergreen, as they say. It's really specifically about the group that's starting next month, but I wanted to just have space to talk more about why my system is so excited about this group. It just feels like I don't know, when I listen inside, my parts just relax and go, oh, like to be able to be in a group of other people who are neurosensitive, who understand, my parts feel maybe a little safer, right? That neurosensitive people typically are not shaming of other people because they are so sensitive to that. There tends to be a sense of comfort in that. So I'm excited. Again, if you have any questions, put them in the comments below. If you have watched to the end, let's see, you can put 3 S's because it's the Sensitively Self-Led Support Group or SSS group, or you can put a snake, a snake. Not that we're snakes, but snakes are beautiful, so that's not bad. You hear all my parts having a discussion there. Um, don't shame this snake, Christine. One is saying, okay, so you could put 3 S's or you could put a snake, um, or something that represents sensitivity to you. And again, last thing, there's no pressure to join this group. If you're saying either I don't want to join a group or um, I don't really identify as neurosensitive. That's totally okay. Neurotypical people are wonderful as well and have different strengths and weaknesses. Um, I am really planning and hoping to start something in January of 2026 that I'm tentatively calling the Ordinary Sacred School of Self-Leadership, where together we have a cohort for 6 months where we go through all of the different courses that are free gifts on my website, and we meet once a month and we kind of have that accountability and container to go through at a certain pace and then to do demos together, ask questions, and share with each other. So that's for everybody. If you feel like you're not neurosensitive, but you want to do something in a group with me, there will be an opportunity, hopefully coming in January. Okay, thank you to all of you who have listened to this point. I appreciate you. If you do want to support all the courses being free gifts on my website, go down and find the thanks button, and whatever amount you send, I will shout out your comment and or answer your question. All right, may you all be kind to yourselves and to all your parts until we meet again. See you next time.